Okay, in this video, we'll be looking at our topic is trigonometry. Our subtopic is finding the size of an angle. Okay, so we'll use a Trigs ratio in order to find the size of an angle. So we are dealing with right angle triangles. So there are two things again we can use when we are solving questions with right angle triangle. We can use Trigs ratio or we can use Pythagorean theorem. Good. So what I'll do, I'll just write SOHCAHTOA here. This will help us. And just to recap what SOHCAHTOA actually means. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan is opposite over adjacent. Good. So the condition or the criteria for us to find for an angle. The triangle must be a right angle triangle, so that's our first condition. I should have conditions since it's more than one. Good. Two sides must be known. So we should know two sides, or two sides must be given. So for us to find an angle, we must be given two sides. The triangle must be a right angle triangle. Find for the marked angle of the following triangles. So I want us to find for the marked angle. So here we want to find for angle theta or theta. Good, so the first thing I'll do, I'll label the triangle. So here will be the hypotenuse equals to that. Since this is given the angle, here will be my opposite side. And here's the adjacent side. So for us to determine which ratio to use, it all depends on the two sides that is given. So we are given the opposite side and we are given the hypotenuse. Good, so if you look at SOHCAHTOA, opposite and hypotenuse goes with sine. So we'll use sine, the sine ratio, sine theta, since it's theta there, sine theta equals the opposite over hypotenuse. Good, so it will be sine, we don't know theta because we are solving for theta, so I write back sine theta equals to the opposite, which is 8 over the hypotenuse, which is 16. Okay, you don't need to reduce this fraction, you can leave it like that. So if you like, you can write it as 1 over 2, but it's not necessary. Since we want to find for theta, I'll take sine on the other side. So if we take across, sine will be sine inverse, so theta will equal to sine inverse. This is how we write sine inverse, with a negative 1 in brackets now. So we want to find for theta. So what we do, we take sine on the other side. So it will be sine inverse. If this was cos, it will be cos inverse. Tan, it will be tan inverse. So sine inverse in brackets, we'll write the fraction that we have there, 8 over 16. And we are almost finished. The calculator will do the job for us. So let's see. Always ensure that your calculator is in degree mode. We use this button change in mode. Right now mine is in degree mode, so you should have DEG if you're using a sharp calculator. Some other calculator just have D. So here sine inverse, you need to press second function. So second function sine. Good, so you see we have our sine inverse there. Now we open bracket, 8 divided by 16 close bracket. What we have, 30. So our answer will be 30 degrees. Okay, let me show you another way to do it. Sine inverse in bracket 8. There's a button, it's not, okay, my calculator is old. Okay, so this button is the fraction button, A, B, slash C. So it's actually 8 over 16. This is just another way to do it. Close bracket and you have 30. Another way you can do this problem, you can probably do the fraction for us. So we have, first thing we have here is 8 over 16. 8 divided by 16 give us that. Good. And then you press second function, sine. So your sine inverse in the answer, and you have 30 degrees. So I'll write 30 degrees. Next problem, first thing I label my triangle. Here will be the opposite side, which is equals to that. Since that's in 90 degrees, here will be my hypotenuse, and here's the adjacent. Good, so let us focus on the two sides that are given. We are given opposite and hypotenuse. Again, we'll use sine. Sine is opposite So I write sine theta equals the opposite over hypotenuse. So sine theta, we don't know what theta is yet. Opposite is how much? 6 over the hypotenuse, which is 10. So I'll take sine on the other side. So theta will equal to sine inverse 6 over 10. Calculator will help us here. Second function sine. I like to do it this way. Again, there are different ways we can do it. So second function sine. So that's how we have our sine inverse. In brackets, I'll put 6 divided by 10. 6 divided by 10. Close my bracket. What I have now. Okay, in this question, I didn't state whether to write my answer to 1 decimal. Let us write the answer to 1 decimal place. So if I want to write this to 1 decimal place, it will be 36.8. Always remember, when you are rounded off to 1 decimal place, you need to look at the second number. If that number is 5 and above, you need to add 1 there. So since this number is 6, I will add 1 there. So my answer will be 36.9 degrees. 36.9 degrees. And since I round off my answer, I need to state, so in brackets, I'll write correct to 1 dp. Okay, it fit. Yes, correct to 1 dp. Okay, next problem. Here's my opposite side. Here's the hypotenuse, HYP. And here's the adjacent side. Good. So the two sides that are given is the adjacent and hypotenuse, or hypotenuse and adjacent. So if you look at SOHCAHTOA, adjacent and hypotenuse go with cos. So I write cos. In this case, we are given alpha. So instead of writing theta, you can write alpha. So cos alpha equals to adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos alpha will equal to adjacent, which is 5, over the hypotenuse, which is 13. The next step, since we want to find for angle alpha, we need to take cos on the other side. So alpha will equal to cos inverse 5 over 13. And now the calculator will do the job for us. We need to put second function cos. That's how we get cos inverse. In brackets, I'll put 5 over 13. 5 divided by 13, close bracket. Okay. Again, for the other problem, I'll write my answer to 1 decimal place. 1 decimal place, I look at the second number. Let's say if we want to write our answer to 2 decimal place, would have been 67.38. Because if you look at this number, it's 0. Good, so let us write it to 1 decimal place. It will be 67.4. Because this number is, if this number is 5 and above, you need to add 1 here. So it will be 67.4 degrees. And sometimes the question can ask you to write your answer to the nearest degrees, or to the nearest whole number. If you want to write this to the nearest degrees, since it's 0.4 would have been 67, here to the nearest degrees would have rounded off to be 37. Sometimes you can have an exact whole number. You can have, not exact, you can have a whole number as your answer. So no need to round off. Okay, here is the opposite side. Here's the hypotenuse. Always remember the hypotenuse is always opposite the 90 degrees. And it's also the longest side of a right angle triangle. So here is the adjacent. Okay, the two sides that are given, so the adjacent equals 5, hypotenuse equals that. So adjacent and hypotenuse, again we'll use cos. If you look at it, adjacent hypotenuse, we use cos. So cos alpha equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos alpha, the adjacent here is 5, so that will be 5 over 10. Let us take cos on the other side, so it will be cos inverse 5 over 10. And you're almost finished. If you use your calculator correctly there, you'll get your answer. The second function, cos, so that's how we get our cos inverse in brackets. 5 divided by 10, close bracket. That gives us 60 degrees exactly. So we have 60 degrees. So no need to put in bracket that we write it to the nearest. You only need to write in bracket whenever we are rounding off. Good. Next problem. If you notice here, we have x. So we want to find for angle x. Good. Here's my hypotenuse. Here's the opposite side. Always remember, the opposite side is always opposite angle given. So let's say if the angle was here, here would have been the opposite side. Good. So in this case, here will be my adjacent. Good. So let us find for x. So it will be which ratio? Let me write SOHCAHTOA here. Now we need to determine which ratio to use. So we are given opposite and adjacent. Opposite and adjacent. Tan. Good. Opposite and adjacent, we use tan. So I'll write tan x equals to opposite. If here was theta, whatever is given there, that's what you need to write there. So tan x is equals to opposite over adjacent. That's the ratio. So write tan x opposite is what? 10.9. Good. So sometimes you can give in the side as decimal number. It doesn't matter if you are given decimal or whole number. Follow the same principle. 8.7. So since we want to find for angle x, I'll take tan on the other side. So x will therefore equals to tan inverse. Okay, we need to write this back. Good. So we're basically finished. The calculator will do the rest. Second function tan in bracket 10.9 divided by 8.7, close our bracket. What we have? 51.4. Let us write it to one decimal place. 51.4 degrees. And I will write in brackets now. Correct to 1 dp. So let's say the question then asks you, okay, whether to round off your answer to write it to one decimal place, and you choose to write it to one decimal place, you need to state in bracket that okay, your answer is correct to 1 dp. Okay, final problem. Let us label. Here will be my hypotenuse. Here's the opposite side, and this will be the adjacent side. Good. So the two sides that are given is the opposite and adjacent. Again, I will use tan. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So I write tan theta equals to opposite over adjacent. Good. So let us solve. Tan theta, we don't know theta is yet. Opposite side is given, which is 5, over the adjacent, which is 8. Good. So we want to find for theta. We'll take tan over the other side. So the first thing you should remember, or you should do, is to label your triangle. So the two sides that are given, that determines which ratio to use. So since we are given the opposite side and adjacent side, we look at this, opposite and adjacent, tan. So that's how we know we use our tan ratio. So we write our tan ratio, and all we need to do is to substitute. So tan theta, opposite, we put our 5, the adjacent. We just look at the problem, we substitute. The next step, since we want to find for theta, we take tan on the other side, so it will be tan inverse. Good. Now we use our calculator. And always ensure that your calculator is in degree mode, because if it's not in degree mode, you will have a different answer. So second function, tan, didn't get it. So always remember, sometimes if you press on this lightly and you press tan, you see, I don't have to tan inverse. So ensure that. Good. So I have tan inverse in brackets. So I put 5 over 8, 5 divided by 8. Close my bracket. What I have? Okay, 32.00. Let us write this to the nearest whole number. You can clearly see the nearest whole number is 32 degrees. Right? So I write 32 degrees, correct, to the nearest. So we actually write this to the nearest whole number, the nearest degree, to the nearest degree. Right, that's it.